Hi everybody, welcome. I'm Geraldine Baroni, City Manager, in case you didn't know that. And I really appreciate you all coming today. Last week I talked a little bit about our City Hall remodel project. It's really exciting. There's a lot of overdue things that are going to happen in our work setting. You all live here, what, a third of your life at least, maybe some of you a half of your life, and so we're way overdue to improve our work environment. So we have spent about a year already doing some fundamental work in looking at our facility, working with our consultants, I'll introduce them in a minute, and working on some basic layouts of the work areas for the departments, and then we still have a lot of work to do. We haven't done any of the design elements like furniture, color scheme. We haven't done any of the logistical part of how do we actually roll this out? How do we phase it? Because we'll have to phase it. It's a lot of work. It's going to be disruptive. Where do we put people when this happens? All those details have to be worked out. So we're getting you guys on early on, other than the fundamental work that we had to do to be able to figure out generally how much is this going to cost and to convince the City Council that they should support this project because it is long overdue. So we had to do those pieces before we got to this next step. So now we're at a place where we're gonna need feedback. We have each department that's gonna have an ambassador that's gonna help. We're gonna go look at places, look at furniture, look at design elements. We're going to need folks to help us when we actually get into the construction phase of it or the remodeling piece of it. So there's a lot to be done yet. So today our goal is to just share with you this information, have you understand it. Within what you'll see are block plans that shows where departments are going to be, and even within those block plans it shows where people's work areas are going to be. And for you to go back then and talk with your department head and your ambassador and look at those and see if there's any tweaking that needs to be done. We have a lot of people that we're going to try and fit into a footprint that's not changing. And so there's some challenges in that, and we also have accounted for growth, future growth, because we know some departments may add people in the future as our community continues to grow. So those are things that we had to take into account. We are working with Mohegan Hansen, and we have Lynn Berglund, who is our designer, and Jennifer Kaplan, who's the architect. And I'm going to turn it over to them here in a minute, and they'll go through some of the design elements that we could potentially, so we want you to get your creative juices going and see things that maybe you like or don't like, and keep those in mind as we move into this next phase. And then they'll go through the layouts. And then at the end, you'll have a chance to actually walk up to the boards. And there's a lot of you here today. We've got another group coming in on the hour. So if you don't have a chance to examine closely, we're going to post this on Insight. So you'll be able to just put it right on your computer and zoom it up and take a closer look. And so if you have questions, we'll try and answer some questions today. But if you have more questions, then work with your ambassador, work with your department head. It's going to be disruptive. Even though I'm really excited, honestly, I'm really nervous because I want you all to be happy, and some of you may not get exactly what you want, or it's going to be changed. That's the biggest piece. It's going to be changed. We've got these cubicles that have been here 35 years, and we're not going to have those anymore. So you know where everything is, you know where people you work with often are. That will change, and it's going to be somewhat disruptive, and the construction part will be disruptive. So I ask your patience through all of that, but I think in the end, and especially when you see some of the things we're talking about, you can share my excitement for it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to to Lynn.
Well, I want to thank Geraldine, and I want to also thank the project management team from the city that we've been working with over the last year to get to where we are today. It's been a great journey. We do a lot, as Mohegan Hansen, we do a lot of workplace development design. And this has been a wonderful pragmatic process, trying to keep everyone's needs in focus all the time, but yet working with this in a very good way around budgets. So with that, I just want to talk a little bit about what our goals for this project, or your goals, the goals for the project were. Very upfront was modernizing the outdated decor and the workspaces. It's really dark and dreary. You've been working in it, and it really needs its time for it to be uplifted. We wanted to accommodate the anticipated growth, and that had to be accommodated within the existing footprint. So there were constraints on that. We also had improving heating and cooling inefficiencies. You know that you've been experiencing, I'm sure for years, some places are hot, some places are cold. It's never just right. And so we have been looking at that and want to do everything we can to get that to be more stable. And then we also addressed improving security and how security with the public and how that happens with City Hall employees. Today you're going to see adjacent three things. We're going to show you some idea thought starters. They're photos. I'm going to run through those real quickly of environments that you may see things that resonate, you may not, just to kind of get the juices flowing. We're also going to then look at adjacency layouts, and that's basically showing you where each department will be in a block format. And then finally, Jennifer will go through the individual layout. We have executed and been working over the last 6 months on layouts, and like Geraldine said today, this is a rollout for you to then have an opportunity to look at those also and give your comments, and if you see things that you want to have changed, go back to your department director so that that can be funneled back to us. I want to just talk about some of the features and benefits real quickly that are going to take place in this upgrade. The workstations are we will be having workstations, and those workstations will be 7 by 7 or 7 by 10. We were able to keep that size. We really worked hard to make sure that the sizes worked and still worked with the constraint of how much space we had. Each workstation, private office, will have the ability to have a sit-to-stand work surface, so you'll all have that ability. We're also looking at providing individual storage lockers in each workstation and office. So your coat, your gym bag, things like that can be thrown into that individual locker that's under your purview. Then we also are going to add, we're looking at the lighting because that's very important. With the onset of LED, we can really now enhance that ceiling that's been such a dark, dreary thing in the past and give you better quality light for your work, as well as introducing sound masking into the environment. Open office environments and office environments in general work better when you can concentrate. And sound masking, or the other term for that is white noise, and maybe you've experienced it at other spaces, but we are going to bring that into the space also. So those are some of the features. Couple global features is that we're going to have a vastly improved break room with different abilities to take a break. It can be used as a conference room. You can go down there and be in soft seating as well as table seating. It's reconfigurable. So we wanted to make it as the best we could possibly make it, and I think we've achieved a lot of things in plan, and we want your input on that. And we also have, we are adding bike storage, indoor bike storage to the space. So if you're bikers, you'll be interested in seeing that. With that, I think I've covered, I have my little note sheet here, which I've been jingling. I've covered that, and I want to just go through some of the thought idea starters real quick. Thanks. You know, I'm going to just start with some of those big aggregate spaces and move quickly. You're seeing a before and after of a break room that we recently did, and this after kind of shows you the ability to have different zones within a break room, and that's what we want to bring to your break room. Soft seating in the foreground, the ability to have tables that can be bunched or segregated, the ability to have booth seating if you want to have it alone. This shot does not also show we have a lot of individual seating. So if you want to get away and not talk to anybody, you get to do that too, okay? Just another example. This bringing natural light into that break room is really big, and that's what we've repositioned the break room so you're going to have more adjacency to the patio and the ability to get outside and share the natural light, okay? This is just an idea of, you're going to see in the plan that upstairs, the mezzanine, we've converted that to the ability to have multiple types of conferencing and gathering up there. And so this is just an example of these tables all tear apart and can go in a row, and They're very flexible, so just some ideas around that. You also you'll see in the plan, open breakout areas that are surrounded, or enclaves. You're gonna hear that term a lot. This is an example of an open collaborative space. The adjacent spaces are conference rooms also, but whether it's a conference room or a private office, we're looking at incorporating privacy bands on those faces. So anywhere in the sit-down area, it's private. Anywhere above, the light could flow through. Just another example of before and after of one of our clients. These are individual against the window, individual retreat spaces, as well as on the other side of that glass, a gathering space for people to team. Another example of that. This is an example of an enclave. So after you're seeing, an enclave is a space that you have the ability to be anywhere from 4 to 6 people. It's set up with technology so you can plug in, come up on the screen. You could take that offline and do for a special project individually, or take it offline for a team, or just jump in, meet quickly, and be off. It could be, we haven't worked through all the details on these yet, but in this case, this client, we had we had iPads at the door, so that we took all their iPads and reused them, and they became scheduling systems at the door, so scheduling right on time, okay? Just some ideas around breakout types of furniture. How you have brick in your space. How can we make that brick, how can that be enhanced and not be a dark debit? And these are some ideas. Balancing that against lighter colors is a way to make that enhanced. Maybe that's what we want to do. So that's still out there to be determined. Reception spaces, we just want to make them more friendly but secure. That's really important. Keep going. It's another example. This one shows a wood ceiling and how that wood ceiling became an enhancer, not a debit. This is an example of workstations. The workstations that you see beyond, Jennifer, if you can show with the pointer. The workstations that you see beyond were positioned so that the light could still come in and flow all the way across to the enclaves that were centered in the space. An example of an open office with a wood ceiling. Another one. And then our last one shows the ability of a workstation with a sit-to-stand, and how that even when that work surface goes up, there's a privacy panel attached to it that's going up with the work surface so that you're not looking down into somebody else's workstation. So those are basically some ideas, and those will be on the Insight. You can look at them if you want, or we'll be talking more and more about ideas as we go forward. And with that, I'm going to let Jennifer walk you through the plans now.
And what we're going to do is just kind of walk through the existing and then the adjacency plans, and then we'll walk through a little bit more of the detailed plans, the space plans. So here's your existing layout today. And what it shows is all the built walls. And as you can see, we have a lot of built walls along the exterior wall. And on the exterior wall is where all our daylight comes in, as well as that's where our heating and cooling is. So the idea was to try to open those offices up and to get that daylight to be moved in, and so that we can use as much of our natural environment as possible. This is the mezzanine up here, and we have reconfigured that mezzanine to have different types of conference areas. And we'll show you that in a minute. And then lower level, same thing has been happening in the lower level. We have offices along the exterior wall. There's actually some taller cubes here. And so we're trying to break those offices down as well and put some open offices in to get that daylight in, to get that heat to move, as well as this is the area that we're going to renovate. We're going to try to renovate this area in the middle as well to change that break area. And this is the community center. This is the Purgatory Creek room. And this is the existing IT area that we'll be renovating. You can see what those rooms look like today. So the adjacency plans, as we're going to kind of work through that, each department, we did a big program. We worked with you. No, because I'll lose everything from the sides. So the adjacency plans is every department got a color. And we worked with all the departments to get the program, to understand the amount of people in your space, what kind of space you'll need, what kind of storage you need. And we came up with this final layout. This is probably about the 4th or 5th or 6th adjacency plans that finally worked and what everybody's excited about. So legal is up here in the corner, and that works with their security. And admin is next to them, and that works great for HR because there's a little bit more privacy for HR. They're green. Finance is purple. They've been brought around here, right around the corner here, a little bit of security for them. Community development is kind of the big group that kind of works right in the middle of everything. And engineering is now gathered all together and is placed down in the lower corner area. The brown that you see is all community spaces. So we have enclaves, we have private meeting, public meeting rooms, restrooms, more public meeting rooms, more enclaves, copy work areas, coffee areas, conference rooms, and another enclave on this floor. And I think the exciting thing is your mezzanine level. That became all community area. So the community common area became many different conference rooms and breakout rooms and gathering spaces. But we did keep the storage up there, and we did keep the large copy mail area up there. So when you have a large copying project and a large mail project, that's going to be up here. We did keep that. And we kept recreation on the lower level, but we did open that up. They have one enclave here that's really in their department. This is where the bike storage ended up, right here. That's why it's brown, right here. And this is where IT ended up. So IT will be in the old break room. What's great about that for them is they have a nice access door right from the stairs, and they have a lot more storage area and area for them to be working and building computers. And then this is the break area. We're going to move the break area into the Minnetonka room. So with that, we'll be adding refrigerators. We're going to be adding island space. We have teaming. We have gathering of tables, banking tables together. We have individual tables here for privacy, and we have some soft seating idea. You'll have the door right out to the patio. You'll have some daylight out to the patio and more daylight over here. When this becomes the break room, we need to keep that Minnetonka room. It's used quite a bit. So our goal is to move the Minnetonka room up here where the council, near council, because council uses it a lot as well. We were going to add some glass up here and get some daylight in there. And then this is the Purgatory Creek room. It gets a little bit smaller, so there's going to be some different programming in there. But then recreation also gets these rooms where IT was in. So I can work a little bit closer so we can see, and we have the board so you can get a little bit more detailed. One reason why admin came to this other side was for HR. We really don't like the way HR is in the middle of the space down here right now, so we moved them up here, and so they really have quite a private little area where people could come and go without the whole world knowing they're going to HR. Admin then kind of absorbs the rest of that space in this area, and we work with legal. There is a little connection space, and we do have a public meeting room that has access out here. This gives this reception area an area so that they can actually, if there is a security issue, they can go through either door to get out and secured and out the door this way. So they don't have to feel like they're kind of trapped in this space. The other item is we'll be renovating these restrooms. We're going to make them accessibility to comply with accessibility regulations here. And we put finance in this area. They have an enclave here, which anybody can use. but it's right here in the corner. They have their own private work area right here. And then we have one teaming area in the middle. This is assessment right here. So we have one teaming area here that anybody can use right off of all the inspections right here. So this is the inspection area. We do have a nice conference room, which is right off the main walkway here that everybody comes in, which is quite nice because that conference room and the coffee area. We put the copier and the mail area and some files back in this piece down here. So it's right in the middle. As you can see, if you need the big copy area or you need a big print, you can get to it very easily. This is where the mail is. Engineering comes around the corner. We really did open that up as much as we can. Look at all this wonderful glass that we got. So all that glass is coming in, and they have an enclave as well. Not specifically for them, but it's located on this side of the plan. That's accessed right here. Everybody has access to the windows that need it. So assessment has 2 windows. Community development has 4 windows. Planning has a window, and engineering has a window. We also have another area up here for our copy, mail, or I should say print area, as well as a coffee area up in this area. You can kind of see how the cubes look different. So let's go through a little bit so you can read this. So one of these little dash boxes, that's a cube. That's 7 by 7. That's an individual person's workspace. One that is larger is a 7 by 10. That's typically a manager of sorts. And then if it has 2 lines around it like this and a sliding door, that's a room. That's a solid room that has walls around it. So this has walls around it. This has walls around it. So we have some offices and some conference rooms that are built. These little cubes here, those are all for the interns. So all the interns are going to have the exact same station. It all depends where they're located, but they'll have the exact same station now. And then these are for the inspectors. The inspectors will have 2 or 3 screens, so whatever size they determine, but they do most of their reviews now on their screens, which is pretty cool. Community development, looking up here towards the windows, and then this is the cashier space. Over here, which is really fun, is the big 20-person or so conference room here. We have a nice gathering space with, if the design stays, some sliding open doors. Back here, some soft seating outside of the gathering space for the meeting outside of the meeting. 8-person conference room, and then those other 2 rooms that I spoke about, the workroom and the storage area. So when you get down to the recreation, the back door to that bike rack there, they got a nice big storage room here. We have an extra storage room for them. Their lobby space is not changing. That area is not changing. Their counter space isn't changing. Their cashier is not going to change. They still have back access to this conference room here. But what does change is they have an enclave and then some open offices in the back here. So still community can come down this area and sign up, and they can buy their t-shirts and everything else is going to work well. We just reconfigured it a little bit. IT, we have all the open area back here. They're going to be coming in, and we have that reception person who gets everybody who comes in and says, I need help, right here. So I think that works. They really don't have a work area. They're just going to get a copier kind of off to the side. But I think that will work for them. And this is what's exciting here. So you can kind of see really closely how these stations are individual or group or soft seating. There probably will be some technology back here. It will be quite nice. And then the Minnetonka room. We do have some challenges in that Minnetonka room, but we'll be working out the layouts to make sure all the layouts that are used today in the Minnetonka room can be used in this new Minnetonka room. It has glass here to remind you, because this is glass right here out to that lovely patio space out here. So all that natural light will be coming in. And then recreation will be able to use this for a different type of programming space. I think that's it. So do you have any, we'd like to have any like general questions, or do you have any ideas that you want to just kind of tell everybody, or? Voting is right here. So there's that window that is right here. the voting B3. Yep. So city clerk area is right here in this area. And then we have a window right there for them, right by the stairs. So these rooms will be still usable. The media room is still going to be used. Those counters are still going to stay out there. We're going to reconfigure that reception area to try to be up against the brick wall over here, try to open this up, to try to open this space up in the middle. No, they won't be replaced at this time. That hasn't been determined yet. Oh, the question is, how high are the cubicle walls going to be? And I think what we've been working on is trying to determine the proper height for your group. And I think the goal is to lower them a little bit so we can get more of that natural light in. But we'll be working with groups within your department to determine that final height of those walls. Mm-hmm. It all depends on how that gets determined. Sometimes, some spaces, there's a spine, and the spine gets taller, and other walls get lower. Sometimes we lower all those, and we try to move those upper pieces into cabinets down under your counter space. So there's a lot of different ways we can tackle that. It hasn't been determined, so we got to work with your group. Did you want to talk about how we're going to be working with their groups again, well, the ambassadors? Make sure that.
Thank you. Just a couple comments too on the office space. So what we end up with is all the department heads will have an office, and then just a few other people. Our 2 attorneys, our HR manager, and our communications manager. So then all the other, when Lynn said there will be 7x7 and 10x7 cubes, the 10x7 are for the managers. And so you'll be able to look, when you look at the plans, the dashed lines indicate that that's a workstation as opposed to an office, where she mentioned the solid walls. So just so you understand that. And I also wanted to mention on the employee lunchroom, the break room, we're hoping that by making it a nicer space and having more availability of seating choices, that it won't be used just at lunchtime, that people would be able to go down there during the day if they have a small group that wants to meet, or if you want some quiet space, you might be able to find it in that location as well, but we're trying to make it a friendlier space. You could say the same thing up on the mezzanine. If there aren't any meetings going on in that open area space is there and you want to go have a conversation with a few people, you could do that, or you could use the enclaves as well. So as far as the next steps, because like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of work to be done. Each department will name an ambassador, and then with the ambassadors and the department heads, we have a lot of homework to do. We'll probably go do some site visits around and look at actual office settings to see what we like. You saw some that were, some very formal and rigid, and some that were more free-flowing, and some that had higher sides, and some that had lower, or none at all. And so we just need to get a sense of what we think would be good for here. And so knowing who your ambassadors, and I don't think all of them have been named yet, but your department director will be letting you know about that. Working with our folks and our consultants, we want to come up with a really great design here that is going to be not just serves us for now, but into the future. I'm really hoping it won't be another 35 years before the office furniture is changed, but we don't want to have anything that's too trendy, knowing that in government we don't always have things change too fast, but we want to make sure that we have workspaces that are nice for our employees well into the future here. What other questions do people have? Lauren.
Many of us work in like a public environment where we'll see a plan set and we'll kind of respond. So is that the idea that we work with our ambassadors and comments that people have to feedback to them?
Yeah, absolutely. The ambassador's role will be that conduit for you. So if you as an individual employee or you as a work group have any feedback or comments about your layout or features that you think are really important, work through that ambassador and the department head so that information funnels back. Kevin Kevin Moss is our project manager from facilities, and so he'll be working closely with that group as well. And you know, after today, we're doing this all morning and early afternoon, and so we're trying to get any feedback that you might have. But as time goes on and we get more information out there, or if you have questions, you look at it on Insight and now you have even more questions, make sure you go through the, either, at this point the ambassadors probably don't know a whole lot because we haven't met or anything. Your department director probably knows a little bit more, so initially anyway, that might be a good person, but once we get those ambassadors named and we get that group together, that will be your point of contact to be able to share that information. So, sorry. Other questions? Anybody? Okay, so don't stampede and kill each other looking at the drawings, but if you can, we've got the ones with the color blocks, they're the same as the ones that don't have any color blocks. You can just see the difference though by work groups.